Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Ryan.
I'm Nick Giovanni. Just within the last hour, Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter got a call from President Obama, who offered the full support of the White House when it comes to the recovery and the rescue efforts still underway this very minute at the site where Amtrak train 188 derailed last night.
We've also learned the train's black box has been recovered and sent to Delaware for analysis. Here's what else we know so far. Amtrak train 188 from Washington, D.C. to New York City derailed at 9:28 last night. 238 passengers and 5 crew members were on board. 6 of those have been killed, including a midshipman from the Naval Academy. Dozens more were sent to the hospital.
Taking a look now at the crash site, the train had just left the 30th Street station when it crashed in the Port Richmond section of town, coming around what appeared to be a very sharp curve. Now investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board have been at the site really since 4 o'clock this morning, trying to figure out what caused this derailment. We've just learned they've recovered the train's black box. It's now being analyzed at Amtrak's Operations Center in Delaware. Should help shed some light in this case. An NTSB spokesperson did tell us speed, along with a list of other factors, are going to be investigated.
Whatever is comparable as we know it, often referred to as a black box, that has been recovered. It is now in the Amtrak Operations Center in Delaware for analysis. We have no information from that particular device at all because it is currently being analyzed by the experts.
We have team coverage of this event. Scott Broom has the latest on the NTSB investigation. Delia Gonsalves is at the crash site, and Mike Tybeck is at Union Station here in Washington. Let's go to Delia Gonsalves in Philadelphia.
As you reported, 6 confirmed dead, among them midshipmen from the Naval Academy in Annapolis. We're told by the Naval Academy that midshipman was on leave and heading home when the crash happened. A very busy scene here at the crash site, and right now some large pieces of equipment being towed inside, large cranes here as well, as crews prepare to remove car number 7 of train 188. But before that happens, a lot of work and difficult work to do as rescue responders, emergency responders search through the rubble for more victims. A crane pulls into the crash site as crews begin the slow and difficult process of removing car number 7, the last car of train 188, leaning over the tracks, dangling dangerously by one power line. The force of last night's deadly derailment tearing down wires and pulling on poles. The NTSB investigators heading to the scene.
I've been down on the tracks on the scene with my staff. It is an absolute disastrous mess. Never seen anything like this in my life, and most personnel will say that as well.
The train bound to New York left D.C.'s Union Station around 7 last night. Passengers were halfway through their trip when the train approached a curve, lurched forward, and jumped the tracks. 5 crew members and 238 passengers on board. Survivors scrambling to escape the wreckage, many who are lucky to be alive.
Just kind of tumbling, it felt like it was in slow-mo because you're not sure if this is it. I mean, in that moment, you're just not sure. And then, when we finally stopped, and I knew that I was no longer being kind of thrown around, and I tasted dirt. I mean, I never tasted so lovely in my life. Just to know that you're fine.
I helped my mom get off. That was my first priority. And luckily, I'm still here. I'm still walking. I got really lucky, and so I figured I would do my best to help because I saw everyone. I could see the blood on people's faces. They can't move. And, their knees were out. It was...
Again, a lot of people very thankful that they were able to walk out of this wreckage alive. However, we know that the mayor of Philadelphia just confirmed that some passengers are unaccounted for. I talked to a police lieutenant on the scene earlier today. He told me he was here last night on the tracks, and he saw some of the bodies that were recovered from the scene pulled from that last train. So no doubt a lot of those rescue workers who are digging through the rubble, bracing themselves right now for the worst. For now, we're live at the crash site, Delia Gonsalves. Now let's head over to Scott Broom, my colleague, who is live at the hospital.
Yeah, I'm at Temple University Hospital, Delia. Thank you very much. I want to remind you, 238 people on the train, 140 of them were injured. Here at Temple University Hospital, they're taking care of the most critically injured. There are 52 of them that have been admitted, about 25 still in the hospital now. We just spoke to a survivor who was just released from the hospital. He is from Washington. He's a young web editor named Caleb Bonham. Here are some of his reflections about what happened last night.
Well, everybody on that train was helping people. There were some older people on that train that needed a lot of assistance, and you know, people stepped up. There's no doubt. There was a gentleman in jeans and a t-shirt and a flashlight that jumped on the train and said he's a police officer and started trying to direct people off. So that was it.
All right, Caleb Bonham from Washington. He's headed back home at this time. He was headed up to New York last night. He's going back to his home in Washington. He was checked out today for a possible head injury. His injuries appear to be minor. He feels okay, so he is headed back home. He described what he thought was sort of a surreal scene, as it was obvious the train was going over. This moment of darkness, this moment where he realized he had survived and things were okay, and then the immediate instinct, he said, without panic, those who were able began to help others on the train immediately. That's the situation here at the Temple University Hospital, where many of the survivors are still being treated. Scott Broom, WUSA 9. Back to you in Washington.
All right, Scott, thank you. As you can imagine, the third part of this story, the derailment could impact train travel up and down the Northeast Corridor for several days.
A huge impact when you consider it's known as one of the busiest passenger rail routes in the country. If you already have a ticket to travel on Amtrak, Mike Hydak has some information you need to know before making your way to the station. He joins us live from Union Station. Mike.
Travelers here at Union Station had to be very flexible this morning when they got here starting at 6 a.m. and the following hours they saw train after train to New York and Boston canceled or delayed. Some of them had to get on planes. They chose alternate trains. They used cars. But as they learned about the circumstances of the crash in Philly, they kept their frustrations in perspective.
I have to call basically my boss to see what he's going to want me to do.
Try to book you on a flight maybe or car?
That's what I'm going to do.
So you guys were in Winter Haven, Florida, and now you're trying to get to?
I'm trying to get to New York, Penn Station.
When did you find out and what did you find out that you had to get off here?
Well, we found out probably 20 minutes before.
This is an inconvenience, nothing compared to what people are going through right now. So my heart goes out to everybody who's dealing with this.
And we heard that sentiment a lot, even as the lines got longer. Many people in line talked about the 6 lives lost and the scores in the hospital. Definitely commuters took some pause this morning. Now back here live, Union Station is bustling like it normally is. Lots of people coming through here. The challenge is not over yet for people coming back to D.C. or commuters tomorrow. For more on that, let's toss to Larry Miller. Larry.